person. We have around 24 people online. So I'm going to try to cover everything we need for Linky's 2024 Spring Model United Nations competitions. So for everyone, we actually have a lot to cover. I'm going to try to be as brief as possible. Normally, I would speak more extensively about past competitions, and I would speak more extensively about generally how Linky competitions work. But because I need to explain what we're doing in Spring 2024, I'm going to have to be a little bit more brief than usual. If you go back and you refer to our son's seminar, there should be a record online that will explain in greater detail just generally like how our coaching process works and how coaching can help you and your child at a competition. And for the people in person, can you guys see me? Am I blocking too much of the screen, or is it okay? Okay, perfect. Thank you, guys. Actually, give me just one moment. Okay, everyone, so we should be good to get started. If you have questions, please put it in the chat. If you're in real life, please make sure to write it down. That way, you will be able to get it answered at the end of the event. We will have a Q&A, but let's get started. So my name is Nirpan. I am the Model UN coach here at Linky. I help oversee the program, and honestly, we're so excited to have everyone here. For those that have attended Model UN conferences with us before, there are some changes, but those that are new to Model UN competition, I want to give everyone a very brief overview of how it works. So for the parents that are unfamiliar with Model UN is a simulation of the United Nations. This is where students will represent a country and they will debate and try to solve world issues. Something you should be aware of with Model UN is it's not like just a yes or no debate. You're doing more than that. You are trying to find practical, pragmatic solutions to world problems. In Model UN, you need skills more than just being able to debate. Students that are able to negotiate, work well with each other, that is an essential skill we have in Model UN. Model UN really requires mastery of 3 skills from students: the ability to research, the ability to speak at a high level, and the ability to negotiate and be social. All those 3 skills are crucial. You cannot win at high-level Model UN conferences without mastering all 3. Students will be placed into one of 2 committees in a conference. The standard one is what we call a general assembly. A general assembly is what you probably imagine Model UN to be. It's when students will be given a country, there are like 1 or 2 set topics, and students will try to find solutions for it. Once they agree on solutions by voting on them, they move to the next topic. That is a standard Model UN committee. Model UN also has what we call a crisis committee. Crisis is different. It is a real-time simulation of an emerging problem. For example, there's been an attack somewhere. There's been an incident. Someone has been hurt. There's been a civil war. So you're going to be dealing with emerging problems over time. Every hour, every 30 minutes, they're going to give you imaginary updates, and you have to come up with solutions. So that is how a crisis committee will work. In Model UN, there are typically 3 awards per committee. Number 1, first place, is a gavel. It's that hammer that you'll see. That is a first place award. Second place, outstanding delegate. Third place is honorable mention. And then sometimes best position paper is either a 3rd or 4th place award or a first place award of its own. How Model UN awards work is no matter the size of committees, you're really only going to have between 3 to 5 awards. Some conferences like Harvard have different rules, but generally, Model UN awards are very competitive and fairly exclusive. Model UN conferences, even though many people will win, the size of these conferences are massive. Like, we are talking about a 1,000-person event on average for every major Model UN conference. There are very few extracurriculars, actually, honestly, almost none at all, that rival the size and scale of Model UN. So when you win an award, it really means something, and it's internationally recognized. So our Linky Model UN team has had the chance to travel and compete again, after many years of COVID lockdown. We're so excited to go back in person. We had the chance to go to Bishop Allen. We were in Shanghai. We had the chance to go to SUNS, Princeton, CCI. We had a great time. Over the past 4 years, we've won over 100 awards. We've won at Harvard, Cornell, Stanford, Yale, MIT, Princeton, SUNS. And honestly, we're looking to add to our achievements. We are always excited to compete. Competition isn't just about the awards, it's about helping students grow. Every year, we will always have students who have experience that we expect to perform better, but we will also have a new cohort of students that we've never trained before, and our expectation isn't so much about the award, it's more about showing performance. So for spring 2024, let's get into the kind of the core thing we want to talk about for today. So we are going to be going to 3 major competitions in spring 2024. When I say spring 2024, I am referring to the period between February and June. We will be going to Dartmouth, we'll be going to Casman in Vancouver, and we will be going to Yale Model UN Singapore. Those are our 3 main competitions. We will also be going to local competitions. Our first one is going to be King's MUN, which is held by King's Christian College. And there will be 2 more conferences that are yet to be determined. So I want to give everyone a little bit of disclaimer. I'm going to go over pricing first, then we'll talk about competition selection later. But I need to kind of explain a couple things. Many of our trips won't be booked until 1 month from now, and this will impact pricing. We have budgeted in as many reasonable buffers as possible, but we still can't guarantee pricing. All the pricing we have is the most up-to-date, reasonable estimate so that even a month from now, we expect the price to be the same. And overall, Linky just takes a percentage on the cost of these projects, and we are significantly lower than industry standard. Very highly competitive teams typically charge, usually I would say 30%. That's like a standard ratio. Linky is very fortunate for our Model U program. They charge half of that or less for our major traveling competitions. We're very grateful. So the first competition I want to talk about, and this is probably the most important one, is I want to talk about Yale Model U in Singapore. Yale Model U in Singapore is technically March 15th to March 17th. But this is during March break, so we will be leaving a lot earlier. We will be leaving Sunday, March 10th, and then we will be returning Monday, March 18th. So those are the actual dates and times for this conference. So Yale Model U in Singapore is run by Yale University students. It is an official Yale University Model UN conference, and it has all the hallmarks of what an official Ivy League conference is. The reason they run conferences in Singapore is because this is like one of their periphery conferences. They are so large and so international, and their US conferences are at such great capacity that they need to actually, and they want to, expand abroad. So there are conferences like Yale Taiwan that exist, for example, but Singapore seemed to line up best with our students' choices and preferences. So this is the total cost, and I'm going to try to break it down. The total cost for Yale MUN Singapore is 4,500 Canadian. That is a round-trip flight from Toronto to Singapore with 1 stop in London Heathrow. That includes a 5-night hotel at plus breakfast, and there will be 3 students per room. That includes 8 days of coaching and supervision when you include all the time on the flight. That includes conference fees, the delegate fee, the delegation fee, the taxi from the airport to the hotel, round-trip taxi from the hotel to the venue, and 5 hours of personal tutoring from TAs. This also includes buffers of around $250. And although that might seem excessive, we are actually worried that flights will significantly skyrocket between now and when we book. So I will talk a little bit more about this trip a little bit later, but this is our most reasonable estimate. For Yale Singapore, this is our premier flagship conference. Out of all the conferences we're going to, this is our #1 choice. Yale Singapore is the kind of conference where it's not even just learning experience, it gives you the chance to gavel at a conference that has the Ivy League name, but is likely to be far less competitive. This is not a trip I would joke around with. Some people are financially comfortable enough where a trip like this is just something you can do. For most people, this is a significant financial commitment. So for us, we want to take the students that are the most ready, the most competitive, and especially those that are a little bit older who really need or want to try for an award. We have no promises or expectations, but to be honest, if we're going to be taking students to Yale MUN Singapore, I expect that all of them will do well. And I expect that all of them should be in contention. For this trip, how will it work is they have 9 committees. I have tried to do our best to negotiate. They have said we will only take 1 student per committee. So that means that we are only going to take 9 students total. If you're in a committee, you're the only one in that committee. That is actually a good thing for students because it means that there isn't any kind of confusion. There's not me preparing one student versus another student. There are rules around collusion. I won't go too much into it. People can ask me during the Q&A, but this is a very prestigious opportunity. If we wanted to bring down the cost, we would take more than 9 students. The hard part is when the trip is already so expensive, we want to make sure every child on this trip feels like they have all the attention they deserve. So there aren't any age restrictions, but I expect every single person going to this trip, this is your focus for the next 3 months. Guys, I do not want to joke around with Ivy League conferences. This is your priority because we really want to help you succeed. Finally, normally we will have tryouts. For Dartmouth and Casman, we will have tryouts. But for this competition, we have made a last-minute change. We will handpick students to join the team. This will be something across the board. If you want to express interest, please send me an email. You'll see my email on the screen, and parents have to email me. I know a lot of students are very excited to go to a place like Singapore or another exotic destination, but honestly, everyone, this is a significant financial commitment. So I need parents to tell me that this is something they want to do. I already know we have more than 9 students for sure, that I know. But I recommend that if this is a trip you're able and willing to do, just send me a message. I will look at the overall team. There are a lot of considerations I will make. And normally when we have tryouts, in this case, it's different. I will use my best judgment because this is not a trip that we want to have any errors or mistakes on. We want to be able to tell parents directly, like, we think this trip makes sense for you. Even then, I have to tell people there are still no guarantees. The conferences that the Ivy Leagues run abroad are still very competitive, they're still very important, and they're prestigious. But in our opinion, compared to the competitive level of the United States conferences, there's just a lot more opportunity when you go abroad, right? It is not nearly as competitive. A Yale Model in Singapore has the Yale name. It's run by Yale students. It's part of their society, but it's not even close to the level of competitiveness that you would see in the United States. So if you're a student in grade 11 or above, this is really your chance to win an award at the Ivy League. Our next trip will be Dartmouth Model UN. So for Dartmouth Model UN, it will be taking place April 5th to 7th, but we will be leaving a day early, Thursday, April 4th to Sunday, April 7th. Dartmouth Model UN will happen on Dartmouth's campus. So it's going to be a beautiful venue. We're very excited for it. So for Dartmouth Model UN, the total trip cost is going to be $2,000 Canadian. It includes a round trip flight from Toronto to Boston with one stop. The one stop is only on the flight back. There will be a stopover in Montreal. It's a slight delay. The reason we had to take that flight is it's the latest flight we could take, and it's necessary for our timing. If there was a nonstop that we could have taken, I would have. This includes one checked luggage, a carry-on, and a personal item. It includes a round-trip bus ticket from Boston Dartmouth, so that's a coach bus. There's like a Dartmouth coach that we will be referring to. This includes 3 nights hotel, 4 students per room, which is standard for Model UN conferences. It's 4 days of coaching and supervision, delegate fee, 3 hours of personal tutoring from TAs, and a buffer. Our buffer for Dartmouth is actually significant enough that we actually have some interesting news. One of our Linky Model UN alumni, she is now studying at Dartmouth University. She just graduated like 2 years ago. If we have buffer left over, we will actually be bringing her on to also help coach the team. So it'll be nice to see, student I haven't seen in a couple of years, and she is a student at Dartmouth right now. So we couldn't have thought of anyone better to help us coach the team, and we think it's something very cool that Linky can offer to people. So that will just depend on if we have buffer remaining. We think so. We think based on the math, we should have more than enough, but it's all depend on the finances. But we think this $2,000 price point is going to be fairly reliable. So for Dartmouth, we will be taking 8 boys and 8 girls. So I have actually another good piece of news. Dartmouth has allowed Linked Key specifically to bring a few students younger than high school. So if anyone has been in my classes, they know that students younger than high school cannot go to US conferences, period. They just don't allow it. But in our specific circumstance, they have allowed us for a few students younger than middle school. This is huge. Because although the US conferences abroad have a little bit more flexibility, the US conferences in the mainland United States do not allow that. So we take this as an incredible privilege, and we are going to do everything we can to respect their choices. We are going to pick the best of the best that Linky has to offer. There are no favorites. There's no favoritism. It doesn't matter if you're Model UN or otherwise. We are just going to pick the best students we have, the most responsible, the most well-behaved, the most competitive. I encourage every middle school student in the Linky Model UN program, try for Dartmouth. This is, from my understanding, at this conference where they think we have up to 1,000 people, you will be the only middle school students. That's it. It's just these 4 students. And already out of these 4, one of our students have already pre-qualified based on our own team rules. So there are 3 spots left. So make sure that you try out and you compete for it. It's an incredible opportunity. I will put these things where I'll say 10 committees, 13 unique positions. I can briefly clarify what that means. 10 committees means that they have 10 different committees at Dartmouth. 13 unique position means that if you include double delegations where 2 people represent 1 country, but they both win and lose together, there are essentially 13 different spots you could get. My policy is to spread our students as evenly as possible so you don't feel like you're competing against your own team. So based on our inclusion of younger students, where again, it's not about awards expectations, it's about showing Dartmouth that our younger students are responsible, we expect to have very little crossover between students and committee. So any student who has won an Ivy League conference or attended PMUN 2023, they pre-qualify for this event. I will talk about our tryout. Between the 2. Sorry, I think, yeah. So for the Ivy League conference, what will happen is if you pre-qualify, they will be given a deadline, I would say maybe 1 week before the tryouts, where they have to confirm and pay for their spot. If they do, they are guaranteed that spot. If they don't, that is open for anyone to compete in. The last line is all other students must try out for the conference. It's a necessity. I will take questions at the end. Please just write it down before you forget. Sorry, I was just talking to someone in real life. Thank you. Finally, we have CASMUN. So CASMUN is Canadian High School Model UN. It is an excellent conference run in Vancouver. Actually, one of Linky's Model UN coaches, she's currently studying at Columbia right now. She actually was one of the Secretary Generals for this conference. CASMUN for me is one of the really great national conferences like SUNS or like CAIMUN or VMUN or UTMUN. The nice thing about CASMUN is that they have excellent resources, excellent materials. It is something that I absolutely support. I think it's a great opportunity for us. If you've been in our classes, I've actually printed out some of their materials and I give them as reference material because of just the quality of their competition. So CASMUN typically has teams within Canada, the United States, and a few countries abroad. But this is very much a national conference. CASMUN, if we can go into the details, we will be leaving Thursday, April 21st and returning Sunday, April 24th. The total cost of the trip is 1,550 Canadian dollars. It includes a round trip flight from Toronto to Vancouver, 1 checked luggage, a carry-on, and a personal item. It includes transportation to and from Vancouver Airport to the hotel through SkyTrain. It includes 3 nights hotel, 4 students per room. By the way, the 4 students per room is actually their standard policy. So a lot of conferences in Canada and the US, they actually automatically will assign students, even if they don't have roommates. 4 students per room is actually the default. I did ask them for pricing for 2 students per room. I don't even know if you get 2 beds. I think it's still a king bed, but they have given me the details. So we may be able to accommodate a couple people, but for all the parents that might be a little reluctant, in Model UN, 4 or 3 students per room is actually the standard situation. So there will be 4 days of coaching and supervision. It includes a delegate fee. It includes 3 hours of personal tutoring from TAs and a buffer. So for CASMIN, we are going to take everyone, right? There are some students I have spoken to specifically, and some students that if they sign up, it may cause a red flag, where we will say, we will actually decide saying something along the lines of, maybe this conference isn't right for you. But if I haven't spoken to you about CASMIN, you are free to register. And if you do register and there is a concern, I will bring it up as soon as I can. We have no team limit. We need minimum 12 students for this trip to run. Students as young as grade 5 can attend. I want to be clear. These are not normal circumstances. If you go to CASMIN, there's not going to be any grade 5 student except for Linky. We're the only group that does this. But we do this because we want to give our students the best competitive edge possible. If at a very young age, you get to see some of the best competitors in the country, you will very quickly start developing your skills. And I will talk about that a little bit later. They have 19 different committees. They have 21 different positions. Honestly, I do not expect to get more than 21 students, although there is a long list of interests. So I highly doubt any students will cross over in the same committee. Although all students qualify, tryouts are mandatory. This is a kind of competition where we want students to try out for a very simple reason. We want to see how they handle pressure. We want to see how they perform, how the work that they prepare, and just their ability to be responsible. When parents are deciding to go on these trips, I think tryout performance is not so much about the grade, but the effort they put in. I will explain a little bit about how our tryouts work, but our tryouts will actually give a very clear feedback to parents and students on generally how a student is doing. It's just a good thing you'll want to do anyway, but I'll go into that a little bit later. If there is an uneven number of boys and girls, for example, let's say 21 people register, it all is evenly divisible except for that last person. The last person will be the one to ask the higher fees. So if you want to get the lowest price possible that we have budgeted in, please register early. That's how we're going to determine it. Even if you have a friend, no matter what the circumstances, we will prioritize those that pay and register early because it's incredibly important to Linky. We have so much administrative paperwork to do. It's really hard to describe. So the more helpful parents and students are, the more we appreciate it. We will also be going to King's MUN. Everyone, King's MUN is a very local conference. King's Christian College Model UN is a school in Oakville. We have gone in the past. This is going to be our first time since COVID. We're excited to go back. This is the kind of conference where you get experience, you get training. Literally everyone should go. It's just a one-day conference. So the total price for King's MUN is going to be $150 Canadian. That's delegate fee, 1 day of coaching supervision, hour of private tutoring with the TA, and our administrative cost. If you were to go to these conferences on your own, they're definitely more affordable. But what I would say is that honestly, for parents that are worried about supervision, kids running around, going on their own, that's one thing we handle. But not only is our private tutoring helpful, our whole idea is we want to be able to give feedback to students in the moment. There is a serious competitive advantage being able, during lunches, after committee, whatever the situation, to tell a student how they're doing, give them like kind of third-party advice, and then hopefully improve their performance for the rest of the day. So for King's MUN, we have no team limit. We don't even have a minimum, right? So if you sign up, even if it's just one student, we'll take you. It's not a problem. So students of all ages can attend. No tryouts are required. And this is one last thing I want to clarify. If schools are going to King's MUN, like your local high school, public school or private school is going to King's MUN, go with your school. It is a standard Linky policy that whenever your day school institution goes to a conference, you go with them if possible. It's for a couple of reasons. We have very great relationships with all kinds of institutions. And generally, we don't want institutions to feel like we are poaching their talent. We do not feel bad if you go with your day school. It's not a problem at all. Just give us a heads up so we know and we can kind of like make up proper accommodations. But unfortunately, a lot of schools, they can't run these trips. That's why we do. So if your school is not running a trip to King's MUN, please feel free to join us. So choosing a conference, which conference is best for my child? I get this question a lot, and I'm going to try to answer this in the most broad applicable way as possible. But during the Q&A, I am more than happy to talk one-on-one to help people answer questions. So the first thing I want to mention is Model UN competition strategies. This is more about competition selection. So Model UN uniquely provides students the ability to compete at the highest levels without many restrictions. This is something that you usually don't see. If you did almost any other extracurricular, you got to pass a certain level to get to a higher level. And although that can have a bit of prestige, right? People like that. It shows that they've made a certain cut. There is a huge downside. If you never get to actually face the toughest competitors in the world, it's a lot harder and a lot slower to get better at something. Model UN, as long as your team can generally go to a conference, part of that's based on reputation, part of that's logistics, part of that's support. If your team can go, all of a sudden you're against the best of the best in the world. And even if you lose, you're getting better much faster than anyone else. So my personal strategy is if you're grade 10 and younger, you go to just the most competitive conferences you can go to. Train, train, train. It's okay if you lose, but you need to go against the toughest opponents you can. Older students who are grade 11 plus, my advice is a little bit more practical. You got to focus on where the awards are most feasible. Students by the first semester of grade 12 are pretty much submitting university applications. They just don't have time. So if you are in grade 11, or you are in grade 12, or you're kind of rounding out your applications, now is the time to focus on where can you get an award or achievement, and how can you put that on your resume as quickly as possible. So the logic becomes more about the optimal place to compete rather than, just thinking about, learning in the long run. I'm reluctant to say that because for me, students learning and growing and improving their abilities is everything, right? It's something I fully support. But I'm also a pragmatist. I know so many people want to go to the universities of their dreams. I know people have institutions that they desperately want to go to. For those students, this is my realistic advice, right? As much as I want to say, yeah, go to the most tough competition you can in grade 11, you just really don't have that much time. That's what I would say. And I'm more than happy to talk about that. So this is our Linky recommendations. All highly competitive students should try to join the Yale Model UN Singapore team. All students in high school plus our top middle school students should apply to join us for Dartmouth. Students who do not make the Dartmouth team, plus any younger students who aren't even in middle school yet, they should attend Casman. Those are our 3 recommendations. So I want people to understand just one thing. Please do not feel bad if you can't make one of these teams. It is not the end of the world. All of these are world-class experiences. These are some of the best conferences in the world, in my opinion. And these are incredible opportunities for your child. So don't think of any of this as losing in any way. It's just that Linky does so much at such a high level that we just want to make sure that everyone is treated fairly. Because although in practice we may be able to take more people to Yale Singapore, we wouldn't know if we could fairly prepare everyone properly if we did that. Does that make sense, everyone? So again, I hope no one takes it personally. And when we select people, we try to be as objective as possible. So can you attend multiple conferences? I get this question a lot. We strongly recommend against attending multiple traveling competitions close together, less than 6 weeks apart. It's just not practical. For the parents that might be out of the loop, Model UN conferences are almost like investments of your time. You got to spend weeks and weeks preparing and studying. You just can't do that in a short turnaround. I am still physically recovering from Suns in Princeton. This was just so much time and effort, right? I need time to relax, reset, get back to my normal schedule, right? They were amazing experiences. We love the trips, but we just need time. So what I would say is do not try to just pack your schedule. This is not the kind of thing that I would recommend everyone do. There are no restrictions around competing local. Local is just totally different. It's a whole other ballgame, right? They're usually 1-day events or 2-day events, local high school. They're usually just within high school hours. If you want to hit the whole circuit, go for it, right? You have my support. But again, pace yourself. You can only invest your time in so many events. And one more thing I'll mention is we are going to King's, and we're still determining there are other 2, not because there aren't that many conferences. There are actually so many conferences. The reason we're a little reluctant as Linky to sign up for every local conference is some may only have 4 or 5 committees. When you have a program the size and scale and support of Linky, we can't have like 10 Linky students per committee, right? It's not practical. So we try to pick conferences that can accommodate teams of our size. And we recommend all of our students attend at least one of the 3 traveling conferences. So again, we know that parents have many considerations. We won't pressure anyone. We won't force anyone. We understand everyone's got their own life. They got so many things planned out. Do not worry. You don't need to explain to us why you can't compete. We get it, 100%. But our recommendation is more about if you're doing Model UN is something you want to get good at, these traveling competitions are important because you actually get to see how much you've improved. And sometimes these are expensive lessons, not only financially, but even emotionally, right? It's tough. Going to a competition like this and it not working out the way you want it really gets students to think about how they should spend their time, think about how important these trips are. So all we want to make sure is that for students, they appreciate all that you're doing for them. And I will try to make sure that's crystal clear in our classes. So do I need MUN experience to attend an overnight conference? If you're new to Model UN, Kingsman for sure, #1 choice. And Casman is our second choice. Because Casman, even though it's an overnight conference, as long as we feel you're responsible and mature enough, we still think it's a good event. We still think it's an excellent event. So if you are new to Model UN, I think Casman will be a good experience for you, but we will double down, especially if you're new to our program. We want to make sure you're the kind of responsible student that we want to take on our team. So competitive debate students, if they're in this call or they're interested, they may want to try for Dartmouth or Singapore. We cannot guarantee you're going to make the team, but it might be worth a try because many of our tryouts are biased more towards debate performance. And all students must be enrolled in our Spring 2024 MUN classes to attend our traveling competitions. This isn't just about our program. This is more about making sure that the students coming with the competition are very well prepared. Although awards aren't everything, at the very least, we like to ensure that our students uphold the highest standards of respect and decorum and diplomacy. So the only way we can really ensure that is that if they're in our classes. So everyone, as a general rule, for a traveling competition, you got to be in our Linky classes. It's crucial for us. So tryouts, how do the tryouts work? So our tryouts will take place at 2 times. For those in person, I'm going to just read it out because I know the board's blocking a little bit. So it is going to be taking place January 6th from 1:45 to 4:45 p.m. at Linky, North York, or January 7th from 9:30 p.m. That is an error there. So it's 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at Linky, Mississauga. The cost will be $45. It's 3 hours long, and the exams will be different from one another. This is not the kind of exam where we just make a test and we give it to you. This is actually like an interactive kind of tryout. So again, everyone, I just want to clarify, the January 7th exam is from 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. So the cost is a little bit higher than last time, but one of the reasons is a lot of parents really struggled from, Toronto to come out to Mississauga. So although the price is higher, we hope this is far more comfortable and convenient for parents. So our tryouts will have 4 parts. We will have a pre-written working paper that is submitted in advance. We will have a written exam. We will have a point of information, attack and defense, and we will have an impromptu simulation. These 4 parts are essentially testing the core strengths of students, and they are going to be marked not by me, but by our teaching assistants. Although I will write this exam, the reason we do that, I will be there, by the way, so I will be there supervising. I want to avoid any bias because many of our Model UN students are students I teach directly, but we have other Linky coaches as well. So in order to ensure fairness, we have our teaching assistants generally mark the exams. So for the tryouts, for the pre-written working paper, this is how it works. Students will be required to pre-write a working paper and submit it to info@linky.com by Thursday, January 4th, 2024. Topic details will be sent out by email once students are paid and registered. Students cannot receive outside help or guidance on drafting the working paper. So the pre-written working paper will be given a topic prompt. You cannot plagiarize. You can't use ChatGPT. You can't ask your friends for help. We want to see where you're at. And one thing I want to remind people, if you cheat to get on the team, you realize it's going to cause problems for us Because if your weakest abilities are in writing working papers and you just kind of, get someone else to do it for you, we're not going to focus on that during our prep. And then you go to an actual conference and you'll lose. So everyone, honesty is in everyone's best interest, and we will be very vigilant to make sure that whoever is doing these exams are doing them fairly. Next, our written test. So our written test will be very brief, short answer questions. They'll include modeling and rules of procedure, politics, geography, economics, safety, equity, and ethics, we call it C, and a lot more. So this is meant to be very quick. It would be 20, 30 minutes at most, just simple questions, simple answers, but also some more complicated ones. Like what do you do in certain scenarios? This is for us to get a general idea of how a student thinks and just make sure everybody's on the same page. We will also have POI attack and defense. Remember that working paper I talked about that you have to prepare in advance? What you will do is everybody that is going for trials, let's say we get 30 people at Linky, Mississauga. Everybody's going to bring one of these papers. Then they're going to be divided into small groups. They're going to go to different rooms. You are going to get a copy as a student of everyone else's working papers, everyone else's solutions. So you're given to it on site immediately, and you have to attack and criticize it. And they will attack and criticize you. So your job is to defend on the spot any proposals you have. This is a very practical thing that happens in Model UN. What I shouldn't have parents be aware of is Model UN at the highest levels, they don't allow electronics, period. If you go to Princeton or Yale or any major Ivy League conference, you can't use a laptop, you can't use a cell phone, everything is paper and pen. So a lot of our activities, the reason it's all on paper and pen is this is what you're going to face in committee. Impromptu simulation. Students will be given an impromptu topic to discuss and debate 5 minutes before the simulation. They will be marked on their speaking ability, negotiation skills, mastery of rules of procedure, ability to draft resolutions, and other core modeling skills. This is what's going to take about 2 hours of our tryouts, maybe a little less. But the idea is we are going to run a simulation. We're just going to see how you perform. How would you do in a real life conference? A lot of parents did this for the last tryouts, and I recommend doing it for this one. If for any reason you can't attend our competitions, I still recommend you try out anyway, right? Remember, guys, Linky is not profiting in any way off the tryouts. We are barely breaking even. And last time we didn't. We're just doing this as a value add for students. Our impromptu simulation is about allowing students to get written feedback from an objective third party on how you're doing. This is going to be the most useful thing parents can have. Plus, if you did the last tryout and you do this tryout, you can see if you're improving or you're making progress or where a student is still struggling. So I would say no matter what, just do the tryouts if you're available that weekend. So we have excellent teaching assistants. So our teaching assistants generally have all won at the Ivy League. So we have David Meng, Emily Fan, Hallie Ma, and Sarah Lee. Each of our teaching assistants has won an award at the Ivy League. David Meng has won at Princeton. Emily Fan is the youngest person to win, or one of the youngest people to win, at Harvard World MUN, the university circuit against university teams. Hallie Ma is one of the youngest people to ever win at the Harvard high school level. She won at Harvard Dubai at grade 5, 10 years old. And Sarah Lee just won first place at Princeton. And she also won at UPenn before. So the reason we have our TAs is many of them still in our program, some are in classes, some are not, but these are incredibly talented students. They are part of our program, they are compensated, and every hour they spend with you, those are hours and times you're taking to help train the next generation. So please be advised, our teaching assistants do not have the time to do extra hours. Just what we already have in our packages is the most that they can accommodate. So they exclusively work with us in providing support and training for students. So guys, do not think of this as something like, oh, it's just a high school student teaching another high school student. No, this is like some of the best of the best. So our teaching assistants are honestly unparalleled. Never seen a Model UN team of teaching assistants like it. And honestly, you couldn't. Some of these records are literally the record in the world. So again, guys, please not only respect our teaching assistants, please respect their time, right? This is just for the general crowd. They are very busy people. They themselves are doing their own projects, they're being accomplished, but they're trying to help the team as well. This is for them, not only like kind of a part-time job, it really is contributing back to the team that for them gave them so much. So we really appreciate them being part of our team, and they will be the ones helping to mark the exams. So they will be there being assigned students, and they will be given feedback, and they will be giving notes. And trust me, they're ruthless. I might be a little nice because I'm like, I've known these guys for a couple of years, and I have I've taught them for so long. No, they don't care. They don't care at all. And that's actually one of the nice things, right? If you hear feedback from me, I'm the coach, right? I'll be like, of course, your child's getting better. They are very good at what they do. So again, guys, it'll be harsh feedback, but it'll be truthful feedback. So this is the tryout process. It's pretty simple. You'll register for the tryouts in the Linky portal. That will be posted either, if it's not right now, probably within a day or two. We'll send out an email to all the parents. You will send $45 to payment@linky.com, or there will be an actual payment link in the portal. You will receive a standard email with information. No additional information is provided. You can't email me. You can't message me. It doesn't matter. There's a standard information. We ask that students do not talk about it. Parents don't have to write this down, but students do. Do not talk about the tryouts with other people until all the tryouts are over. Does that make sense? Can everyone write that down? There's a communication ban on it. You will email your resolution to info@linky.com by Thursday, January 4th, and you will attend the in-person tryouts on January 6th or January 7th. That is our simple tryout process. Appealing decisions. All competition-related decisions rest with NIRPAN. So if it's about I want to be in this committee or that committee, or I qualify for beginner or advanced or whatever, I make those decisions. Please do not bother Linky. They have no idea what's going on when it comes to that kind of stuff. But similarly, I don't handle anything financial or logistic. So if there's anything to do with finances, please contact Linky. I don't have that information. I don't have that access. We both handle two very different things. So if you ever have any issues, again, this is who to deal with. Additional notes. I got a couple additional notes that I think are important. Refunds and reimbursements will be not accepted unless there is a severe emergency health or safety issue. Flights and hotels cannot be reimbursed under any circumstance. And that's not like a Linky policy. That's like a flight and hotel policy. Guys, if you want to be mad at someone, please just be mad at Air Canada. I'm sorry, Linky does not get special permission from Air Canada to cancel flights and get reimbursements. This has happened to students before. And when Air Canada says we won't reimburse you, they just won't, right? So once you commit to these trips, you're all in. Does that make sense, everyone? So whatever we can reimburse, if that's possible and you have a legitimate reason, we will reimburse, like coaching fees or admin fees. But when it comes to flights and hotel, we just have no control over that. So one thing I want to quickly break down is going to a model event conference with your day school versus with Linky. So we have, again, as I mentioned before, a great relationship with day schools, and we don't want to seem to be hostile or competitive or to undermine them, but we're just doing two different things. When you go to a competition with your day school, it may be more affordable because faculty advisor costs are covered by the school themselves. They bake it either into the tuition or the provincial government covers it. They're more focused on supervision than coaching. And that's a real concern, right? Because if you're a public school and you're taking a lot of kids, their focus is a little bit different. And the final thing is they have usually a lot of restrictions for teams. A lot of students in grade 9 and grade 10 can relate, where not a lot of students are allowed to compete. They only take students that are older, so you feel like you don't have a lot of options. With Linky, every coach is not just a coach, not just supervising, we're competitive. So we're more about strategy and support. If you've never been with Linky to a competition, our job is to make sure we can train you as best as possible, not just like before, but during the conference. Like those 4 days, if the kids are up for 12 hours, I am up for 12 hours. If they're up for 16, I'm up for 16. That is exactly how it works. And whatever they need, whatever we can do to help, that's exactly what we do. If you don't believe me, just ask the students that we've taken on competition. That happens at every conference. I will clarify that supervision and safety is still our #1 priority, right? There is nothing more important on these trips than getting your child safely back home. So we don't shirk our responsibility, but I think part of it is we're just so fortunate. So many of the Linky kids care about competition. They're not worried about anything else, that it makes our job easier. And the final thing is we don't have any unnecessary internal age or grade restrictions. So we won't go around saying, no, you got to be older in the Linky program to go. That's not how it works for Model UN. We will take the best kids we can at the youngest ages, whenever possible, all ages. We're not prioritizing young or old. There are only certain circumstances like Yale, Singapore, where the cost is enormous, that we need to start being a little bit more selective, right? Out of respecting parents and their budgets and all those things. But we try to take everyone we can. So spring classes, we expect all students to join at least one class at any Linky Model UN location. All levels will provide some degree of preparation for our traveling competitions, and all students, regardless of conference attendance, will benefit from competition preparation. So this is more for the parents who may choose not to go to competition, right? They might worry saying, oh, wait, if I never have the chance to compete, is the class still worth it for me if we spend some time talking about it? I say 1,000% yes. To be honest, when you have students in your classes, children in our classes that aren't going to a major competition like Harvard or Yale, but someone else is, I want to learn everything. I want to learn about the background guides. We'll get access to the document. We can give those in class to study. We will have the chance to learn about what the competition was like. What was it meeting some of the foreign teams? What were some of the strategies that are currently used in America that maybe we're not using in Canada? We get a lot of opportunities by listening and learning from what is happening at other competitions. So do not think of this as a downside. Think of this as actually one of the benefits of our program. So we try to be fair. We try not to be too biased towards one or another. And that's something we're always recalibrating. But everything we do is try to make sure that our students get access to the latest information, the best opportunities. So we will also try something this year. This is just something that we've had some demand for. So we want to see what the interest is like. Some students in preparation for things like Princeton and Sons, they asked for extra competition preparation. We are thinking about formalizing this time. So this would be a bonus virtual preparation package, which would be 12 hours of online prep class, 4 hours of private tutoring from a TA, $400. That is at generally a discounted rate to whatever we would normally offer. We don't know how parents feel. We're just going to be honest. This is just something we want to see if parents would like. But hopefully this would be like a useful value add. So all the kids going to Dartmouth, this is something they can purchase. It's not mandatory. It's optional. But this is something we'll follow with parents once we've selected our team. We just try to give people a few more options because what happened for our last two competitions is people had to start double enrolling in the same course. Like I had people join like my level 4 in Mississauga and then join level 4 in North York, right? Just so they can get extra preparation. Hopefully this will accommodate them a little bit better and it'll be a little bit more organized for parents. Okay, so this is something you want to keep an eye out for. You might want, if you want to take a picture, this is going to be your moment. So this is the timeline for Casman and Dartmouth. It looks complicated, but it is not. Tuesday, January 2nd, this is the deadline to pay and register for a pre-qualification spot. Tuesday, January 2nd, this is the deadline to register for tryouts. Thursday, January 4th, last day to submit a working paper. Saturday, January 6th, this is Linky North York tryouts. Saturday, January 7th, Linky Mississauga tryouts. Tuesday, January 9th, results are sent to students. 4 days later, payment deadline for selected students. And then Tuesday, January 16th, payment deadline for waitlisted students. And the next day, I will be booking all of our flights and hotels. So these are very quick timelines. It doesn't seem like it, but in a scope of a couple of weeks, you're going to go from trying out to get selected to the team, to getting payment, and we're ready to go. So we want parents to quickly respond. We're going to be a little strict this time. If parents are unresponsive, and no offense, no one has done anything wrong, but if anyone is unresponsive, we may even have to give a spot away because we cannot delay the whole team's prices going up if one or two parents are a little slow on the email. So again, everyone, with all due respect, we really encourage everyone to respond quickly to these emails, and we will try to do the same. So for Yale MUN Singapore, these are our general timelines. By Wednesday, December 20th, send me an email if you are interested in attending this competition. Thursday, December 21st, I will send out Yale Model UN Singapore team invitations. Thursday, December 28th is the payment deadline, and Tuesday, January 2nd is the payment deadline for anyone that's waitlisted. So for Yale MUN Singapore, they actually give out assignments pretty early. We should receive them in January if timelines go correctly. The reason why we're not doing tryouts is initially we did want to, but because flights have been creeping up, I got to be honest, I checked the price 2 weeks ago. Price was like maybe, like 1,600. Then now it jumped to 1,700. And even our buffers evaporating rapidly. So we just don't want to wait any longer. And for parents, this is a significant financial commitment. So we don't want to wait until like a month from now for them to know, is this something you want to do? If you are going to it, might as well figure it out now so you can start preparing. So we will provide that. And for King's Christian College, is a very quick comment. Everyone is welcome to join. Everyone is welcome to try out. To attend. But we are going to do registering on a rolling basis. So we might say anyone who signs up early, we're going to send your registration in. We'll get you a country assignment. You can start preparing. If you are delayed, you're going to have to wait for the next 2 or 3 weeks for the next batch of students. So registering earlier is better because you will get your assignment earlier, meaning you can prepare earlier. So parent policy. Parents are not guaranteed to be able to attend traveling conferences. For example, Princeton explicitly said parents cannot go. Straight up, that's it. They just said parents are not allowed to attend. That is their policy. There's many reasons for it. We can debate it later, but that's their rules. Parents are generally welcome at King's MUN. If you want to see your child in action, please feel free to come to King's MUN. I will try to take photos and videos, but I got to be honest, everyone. I mean, I'm a competitive person too. If I'm at Dartmouth or Yale MUN Singapore, I know you guys spend a lot of money, but the last thing I care about are the photos. The most important thing for me is just watching your child in committee like every second I can, getting like scribbling down feedback so that we can talk after committee is over. That's why whenever we go local, sometimes Linky administration can tag along and they're great with the photos, right? So hopefully they can do them and they'll send it. And I'll try to be communicative as best as I can. And if you'd like to attend a conference, please let us know as early as possible. So if, for example, your child is selected, let's say to go to Dartmouth, and you would like to join us, please tell us early. I got to contact the conference. I got to get information. I got to actually register you as a member of our team. Because remember, everyone, these are academic events held by universities. They cannot just have adults running around, right? They can't have strangers without ID, without identification in these buildings, which is a great policy, by the way, right? It ensures all the children are safe, but this takes time. Like it will take a couple weeks to get it done. So please keep that in mind. And that's about it. So if you have any questions, let me know. But I think we'll pause the presentation right there. So I'm going to see if there are any questions. I think there might be some in the chat, and I'll take some in person. So give me just one moment.
Nearpan, there's a Nearpan, can you hear me?
Yes.
So there's a quick question. One of the parents was saying that your slides on the Vancouver conference,
yeah,
the date may be wrong.
Oh, let me double check. So let me double check. And by the way, for the here, one side. It is correct because I think it is April. It is technically April 22nd to 24th, but we will be going April 21st, a day early, so we can get there. So everyone, no. I probably should mention that for
wait, Nearpan, I think that conference should be from April 12 to April 14.
It is. It's 12 to 14.
Oh, actually, you are. Let me double check that.
Yeah.
I apologize, everyone. You are 100% correct. I must have gotten my dates mixed up. You are right. Thank you very much for the clarification. Sorry, everyone. So you are right. It is April 12th to 14th. So it should be April 11th to.
So we're leaving 14th. On the 11th, right?
Yes, we're leaving on the 11th. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I apologize for that. By the way, while we still have all the parents here, I would like to very briefly mention that we will have a Linky holiday party. So if you are interested in attending, this is a specific party we're running for our Model UN students. So let me just put this in the chat. So I'd like to, again, thank Linky for setting this up. We are going to have a holiday party just for our Model UN program. Honestly, everyone, we've had a great year coming back into competition. And we've had, honestly, some really great successes. In Shanghai, we won more first place awards in Ivy League committees than any other institution. We won awards at pretty much every conference we've gone to, or our students have. And on top of that, at Princeton, we were the only Canadian team to win at all. So honestly, for us, these are really impressive achievements. And we're just so happy of what our Model UN team has been doing and all the work they've been putting in. This isn't just for the award winners. It's for everyone, right? Everyone's been putting so much time. So I put the link in the chat. The party is going to be Saturday, December 23rd from 6 to 10 p.m. And it's going to be at Linky, Mississauga. And we encourage everyone to join. It's free. We're going to have pizza, snacks, drinks, everything. And parents are welcome. We're gonna have games. There might be a dance battle. I don't know, but we're gonna have a lot of fun events and some prizes. So again, guys, let's thank Linky for setting this up. But it's gonna be a lot of fun. So we hope we see you all next week. So having said that, I want to double check everything else. For one student, they said that they unfortunately will not be in Canada on January 7th. At the moment, our tryouts are all scheduled to happen January 6th and 7th. If there are parents that will physically not be in the country, please send me an email as soon as you can, and we will try to see what we can do. We may not be able to reschedule it, but we may be able to provide an alternative option. But everyone, this is not something we will do regularly. We need proof that you'll be out of the country. But if you are physically out, I do not think it's reasonable to say we got to fly back in just for a Linky tryout. So that's the only kind of exception we will try to work with. Can students fly separately and stay with their parent at one of the CASMN? So a conference like CASMN, and actually all the major conferences, do not like students running around, registering on their own. You have to do it through the conference. So Linky will consolidate things like payments and registration, but we avoid, and actually they don't like it, and they may not even accommodate if children stay with even their parents. As a general rule, they want to keep things organized and simple. Parents can go to CASMN. They'll be in a similar room like mine. They can get their own. They have standard fees, but we really don't want people flying around. It's not something we can accommodate. And not only us, CASMN won't accommodate it. And I understand why. When you got like 1,000 kids and everyone starts doing their own random arrangement, they're worried about health and safety, right? So this is something where everyone's got to go in a very standard kind of format. But thank you, Joey, for your question. And the tryouts will take 3 hours. The tryouts will take 3 hours. Are there any other questions in person? Let me take a couple questions in person. Any questions at all? Steven, yes, go ahead.
So when you said you have to, can you bring a typewriter?
No. Yes, no typewriter. Steven asked, can we bring a typewriter conference? No. Any other questions? More serious. Anyone in person? Anyone online? Henry, anything you think I missed or anything you'd like me to cover? Anything you'd like me to add on?
No, I think that's it. So maybe you can wrap up the online Zoom meeting, and then you can focus with the in-person students or parents.
Yes, I think one thing I can do is if there are any parents in person or online, I want to prioritize the parents in person because I know they came out all their way over here. But maybe in a few minutes, we can actually just stop the recording. And if there are parents online, I can chat with you after I've chatted with the parents in person, right? If you have any personal, like specific questions. The only other thing I would mention, everyone, is I got a direct message question. Can I refer people outside of Linky to join? We absolutely love when you refer your friends or any other colleagues. We love for people to join. But as a rule, if they make the team, if they meet all the criteria, they got to sign up for our courses. Because I got to know who I'm flying with when we fly to another country or we're flying across the country. Also, is there anything that anyone needs when it comes to maybe translation? Since we have Henry here for a moment, does anyone need any translation?
那如果你
Or in person?
可以用中文，你可以用中文问。如果有人想用中
What? Good. Yeah.
Okay, I have to mute them. They forgot to mute their
No worries.
microphone. So okay. So there's a question in Zoom. Could you send the link to sign up for the trials? So
I think maybe the Linky assistant could, but if it's not on the portal right now, within 1 or 2 days, we're going to send an email to everyone. It should be available. But I can't access the parent.
It will be available by the end of tomorrow. So
perfect.
So for your question, you just find it on Linky portal. Let me share a real quick portal with you. So real quick. All right, guys, can you guys see my screen? You should be able to.
Yes, we can see your screen.
So come here, this is your Linky portal, right? So once you log in, you'll be able to see there's a there's a menu bar called contest and tournament, right? And once you get in here, you'll be able to see, right now there's no model UN, but as I said, by the end of tomorrow, you will be able to see a model UN link, right? So it will be similar to this, but this is to a debate tournament, right? You will see a model UN, sign up contest in this form, and then you just need to fill out that form, right? Pretty straightforward.
Okay, that sounds great. And Henry, we've got one quick question in person. Lucas, you want to go ahead, man?
Relating to like the schedule, January 2nd is the deadline for the trial.
Yes. Yes. January 2nd is the deadline.
So does that mean that we're going to be receiving?
Oh no, you'll get it far in advance. So you won't get it like tomorrow, but you'll get it in like maybe the end of the week. So you'll have plenty of time to prepare. Yes. Lucas, question.
So it said like you would submit over paper. So for responses and signatories, you just like.
Oh, we will actually tell you what to input there.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. So you will be given a country to write from the perspective of. So you'd be like, oh, try to deal with education reform, but from the perspective of France. And then you'll have to write like a paper on that. And Lucas, go ahead.
Relating to like the written test, how important is that? Is it like the least important?
We are going to try to be balanced. I cannot guarantee the breakdown. I need to actually discuss this a little bit more with our teaching assistants. Like this is something we actually think about and talk about. So we need a little bit of time, but you'll know early enough. So I wouldn't worry. But generally, we'll be fair. Some people are good at reading, some people are good at writing. So we try to balance it out. I think I had a question from a parent. Did you have a question? Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, Stephen, go ahead. So this would actually be a position, a working paper, Yeah. Can I research it? Oh, yes, you can. No, you can research. The only thing you can't do is pre-write. Yeah. So, sorry, you can't use ChatGPT. You can't ask help from friends. It's got to be whatever it is, you got to do it. And we will know if you don't do it. Trust me. It's not that complicated. And any other questions, guys? Any other questions at all? Okay, so I think what we'll do, Henry, is if everything's good on your end, thank you so much, everyone, for joining online. For the parents in person, I know you guys came out all this way. I can just talk to you guys one-on-one, right? So if the parents here want to talk to me one-on-one, we can do that. For the parents online, I may be able to talk to you one-on-one, but I'm going to talk to all the parents here first, and we have quite a few. So if you really want to wait, I'm more than happy for you guys to wait, but I take my time. You guys know I'm very talkative. So again, guys, if not everybody online, I will see you guys later, and I'm looking forward to seeing the tryouts.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to stop the recording online.
Yes.
So